Hey guys, Tanya and David with Outside by Side.
Are you considering buying a travel trailer, or you're new to RVing and want the nitty-gritty of the RV setup and breakdown?
If so, stay tuned.
Look at that view.
So about a year ago, we did a video on RV setup and breakdown. Here's a link to it in the description. We've had great responses on that, thanks to you guys. And so we wanted to do a more updated video showing some of the things that we've learned since then.
Our goal is to show you more details in the setup and breakdown to save you time and a view of our campsite before we back in. That way you know where your awning's going to be, where your slides are going to be, where your hookups are going to be next to your trailer. So it's always good to get a view of your site before you back in. The first thing you want to do before you unhitch is level your trailer from left to right, because once you unhitch, you're not going to be able to do this again.
To do that, I'm using a standard everyday level. And what I like to do is put it on the floor. And according to this wheel right here is just a little bit low. So we're going to go ahead and make that adjustment now. What we're going to use for this is these levelers. We have a single axle trailer, so we only need one of these. If you have a dual axle trailer, you would need two, and you really only need them on the side that's low. The way that these work is you simply put it underneath your wheel, and then when you back your trailer up, it will actually roll up on this and lift this wheel up. I think it'll lift it up to maybe 2 or 3 inches. And then you can use this on the other side. So not only does this help level the trailer, but it also acts as a chock for this side. Now that we're level left to right and we have this wheel chocked, we're going to move over to the other side and chock that wheel. It's very important that you make sure that your trailer is chocked before you unhitch it to prevent it from rolling forwards or backwards. So now that we have our trailer leveled left to right and our wheels chocked, now we're going to go ahead and start the disconnect. First thing you want to do is disconnect lights and your hitch pin. Put that right there so you don't lose it. And we're going to disconnect our emergency brake cable. I like to use these blocks, leveler blocks. They're kind of like Legos. You can use these under your stabilizers. You can drive on top of them with your wheels, but I like to use these for my hitch. Put these under here. The reason you want to use some kind of a block right here is the shorter that this hitch is from the ground, the more stable the trailer will be. Now we're going to lower the hitch. Another safety tip, it's a good idea to leave your safety chains hooked to the trailer until you get all of this unhooked, just in case the trailer does decide to roll back or forth, you'll at least still be hooked to your truck. So now what we're going to do is we're going to raise the truck and the trailer to take the tension off of these weight distribution bars so that we can unhook them. We still have our hitch connected to the truck, and we're going to raise the truck to take the weight off of these bars. If you have any questions about the weight distribution hitch that we're using, please see this video. We'll have the link in the description below. Now we can take the truck back down. Now that we have the weight off of the weight distribution bars, we can release the hitch and raise it back up. Now that we have the ball clear of the hitch, we're going to go ahead and disconnect our safety chains. Now we're going to pull these weight distribution bars out of the hitch to get them out of the way. And we're going to put them in our storage right here. So while we're at the campsite, I like to pull the hitch off of our truck. I don't like to leave it on here. It's big and bulky. You can bust your shins on it when you walk by, so we're going to go ahead and take that off. You simply pull this pin. Always put this back so you don't lose it. And we keep our hitch right here. This is something that we did that did not come with the trailer. We have a video with a link to this in the description. It's called DIY Hitch Docking Station for your travel trailer. The reason I like to put it here is because I don't like to cram it inside of this little storage bin right here. It takes up all the space.
So now that we've leveled left to right, we're going to level front to back, and the way you do that is with your tongue jack. As you can see, we need to bring the trailer up just a bit to level it out. So now we're going to lower the stabilizers. We like to use this electric drill with a 3/4 inch socket to lower our stabilizers.
So now that we've got everything unhitched and leveled, the next thing is the utility side or the hookups of your trailer. First, we're going to get started with our electric. Our trailer has a 30 amp hookup. At this site, we have 30 amp, 50 amp, and 20 amp. It's a good idea to buy some of these dog bones or adapters, because if you have a 30 amp trailer, and we've had this issue before, if something is wrong with the 30 amp breaker or the 30 amp plug, you can use your 50 amp to 30 amp adapter and plug it into the 50 amp and then plug your trailer into the 30 amp. It's not a bad idea to have as a backup. Also, some sites that you get to might not have 30 or 50 and they might only have 20. So there's also a 20 amp to 30 amp adapter, which you would also be able to use in case the 30 amp was not working. You would still have this option. With this option here, we are able to run our air conditioner, but you probably wouldn't be able to run everything like the water heater and the microwave all at one time. But these are not a bad idea to have as an option. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our surge guard surge protector. It's very important that you have one of these for your trailer because it protects your trailer from voltage problems and also surges from lightning or power interruptions. So what I'm going to do, always make sure that the breakers are turned off, and we're going to go ahead and plug into our 30 amp, and we're going to turn the 30 amp breaker on, and we're going to check the power. If you look right here, if you have 2 green lights at the top, that means that everything's good. If you were to have any of these other situations, could be an open neutral, an open ground, reverse polarity, or no power at all, this is something that you would want to know before you hook your trailer up. So on our 30 amp hookup, here's our connection point right here. The way this works, this is called a twist lock plug. If you can see, one of these terminals has a little notch in it, which matches one of these terminals that has a little notch in it right here. So basically what you want to do is line that up, plug it in, and then if you twist it, it actually locks. There's also this ring that you can tighten up to ensure that the connection is dry and keeps it tight. So now we're back over here at the pedestal. Another important tip is always make sure that your air conditioner is turned off when you're not using your trailer. So when you plug this in, it's not pulling all that power all at one time. We have our breaker turned off again. And now we're going to go ahead and plug in our power right here into this surge protector. And we're going to turn the 30 amp breaker back on again. We have our 2 green lights. We also get a blue light right here. And then if you go back to the other end of the trailer, you'll see a red light on that cord, which means that everything is hooked up. And another thing I like to do is I like to try to keep all my cords and hoses rolled up and underneath the trailer so they're out of the way. They're not exposed to the weather. It just looks a little neater and tidier.
Okay, now that we have our electricity hooked up, we're going to check our refrigerator to make sure that our refrigerator is on. It's on auto. Auto is what you want because it switches it from propane to electricity.
Now we're going to go ahead and hook up our water. One thing that I would highly recommend is a 0G drinking water hose. It's very easy to roll up. It stores very nice in your small storage. It's not stiff and rigid, and it also doesn't kink easily. Here's your spigot. It's just a standard spigot. The first thing that I like to use is we use this water pressure regulator. Just like electricity, you don't really know what the voltage is going to be. On a water pressure regulator, it allows you to set the maximum PSI of the water pressure going to your trailer, because sometimes if you have too much pressure going to your trailer, it can blow out your plumbing or cause leaks. So I think I have this one set right now currently somewhere between 40 and 50 PSI, which should be fine for our trailer. We're going to go ahead and hook that up to the spigot. I always like to use a pair of pliers because I hate drips. And we're going to go ahead and tighten this. Another good idea that you can do is if you buy a Y like this one, you can hook up right here. If you have your trailer hooked up, you can also have an alternate hose to do other things with. Now we're going to connect our hose up to this side. So on the trailer side, you have your city water connection. This is the water filter that we're going to use. It's an inline water filter. Make sure that you have the direction of the flow. There's usually a little arrow that tells you which way you want your water to flow into your trailer. We've also have this 90-degree brass connector, which is nice to have because it lets your water filter or your hose hang straight down, and it keeps this fitting right here from getting in a bind. So we're going to go ahead and connect this. I also have an additional valve that I've added to this hose, which is nice to have because it enables you to turn it on or off. So what that allows me to do right here is this hose can get air in it. So I'm going to go ahead and let the air out of the hose, purge it, turn it back off, and now make this connection to the filter. And then now we can turn that back on. Check for leaks. You want to make sure that you don't have any leaks here or here. And if we come back over to our water pressure regulator, we can check the pressure on that. And right now we are right about 60 PSI.
So now that we have the water hooked up, we want to purge the air out of our water lines and water heater tank. So we're going to do that by running the water. We're going to go ahead and turn on our electric water heater. This campsite does not have full hookups, but we wanted to show you the process if you were to have full hookups at your campsite. Full hookups are where you can dump the gray and the black directly into the ground. Full hookups are wonderful because you don't have to worry about how much space you have in your black and gray tanks or how much water you can use. So it's definitely a benefit to have the full hookup, so that's why we want to demonstrate for you.
We're going to be using our Rhino 28-gallon portable waste holding tank. So instead of hooking the hose up into the ground, we're going to be hooking the hose up to this tank instead. As I always say, you want to wear gloves for this. It is our poo, but it's still poo. So I have my gloves on. I also like to keep all of my sewer connections in a plastic bin that's dedicated for just the sewer connections. so that when I have it in storage, I don't have to worry about it, these connections touching other things inside there. So basically what we're going to do, we keep our hose inside of our bumper. So we're going to pull this out. We're going to come down underneath here to our discharge port. We're going to take the cap off. Always use caution when you do this. For one, you want to always make sure these valves are shut. If these valves are ever open for some reason, you never want to take this cap off or you'll have a nasty surprise. So we're going to go ahead and take this cap off now, and we're going to hook up our sewer hose to that. Make sure that this locks on. And then at the other end, there's also another cap on this side for storage. We're going to take that off. We're going to pull this hose over here. And you can see how nice these hoses are. They collapse and expand. So in a full hookup situation, there'd be a 4-inch PVC pipe coming up out of the ground right here. And what you would use is this 90-degree elbow, and you would hook it up to this end of the hose. And then this would drop down into that pipe, and that's where you would pull and dump into. In most situations, you would want to probably have this end higher than this end for it to drain correctly. We're going to use this 90 degree, and we're going to be hooking it up directly to our tank. This tank is really good to have when you don't have full hookups, because it prevents you from unhooking everything and going to the dump station. Now we're going to talk about tank etiquette. You always want to keep your black tank shut. Your black tank needs to have water in it. You never want to use your toilet with a dry tank. You need to have some water in there, at least a couple gallons. And then for you to be able to actually dump your tank, you need it to be full so that it can properly empty out into the sewer. Your gray tank, you can keep it open. I have heard people say that they like to keep theirs shut to keep sewer flies from coming up into their sinks and their shower. I'm not really sure if that could happen or not. Sometimes we keep ours open. It is a good idea to keep it shut for maybe a day before you dump, so that you do have a full gray tank in order to rinse out this hose when you dump. Now we're going to go ahead and unroll the awning so that we have some shade. One thing about these awnings, they're not really for weather. They're mainly to keep you in the shade. So if you're having any extreme rain or wind, you probably want to keep your awning in. Another thing, do not unroll your awning too much. When you see this flap right here, you can unroll it a little bit more, honey. That's as far as you want to take it right there. Bring it back right there. The reason why is you want to keep a little bit of awning rolled up around this pipe right here, because if you roll it out too far, the awning can rip out. So you want to make sure that you kind of stop it right here is the best spot, so that you still have a little bit of awning rolled around the cylinder there.
Now that we have our setup complete, let's cook breakfast. I'm hungry.
Do you like bacon? Because that's all we eat when we can. So we've had a great weekend, and now we just wanted to show you all what's involved in packing everything up and getting everything ready for the road.
So now we're going to start the hitching process, and you can't do any of that without bringing up your stabilizer. So that's what we're going to do first.
Now we're going to go ahead and get the trailer hitched up to the truck. First, we're going to pull off our hitch, put it in your receiver. Get your hitch pin. Make sure you pin it. Debag our hitch. Raise it up and back up the truck. Once you get your hitch down on your ball, make sure that your latch is in the down position. Then it's a good idea to go ahead and put your pin in it. The pin prevents the latch from opening while you're on the highway. It's a safety pin. So now we're going to go ahead and hitch up our weight distribution bars. And here's how you hitch it up. So the first thing you want to do is you want to drop your bars in here. The bars need to be out 90 degrees from the hitch. And then you want them to pop down in here. And then when you swing it around, you'll see this clip close. You want to make sure that that's closed. Put this one in this side. Pop it down, swing it around. Then we're going to go ahead and pull our safety pins out. Now that we have this latch, we're going to raise up the back of the truck with the tongue jack to take the tension off of these springs. So we're going to go ahead and raise it up now. Once you get it up to about this height, and pop it in, and then put your pin in. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Now we're going to lower the tongue jack, which is going to preload these springs, and it's going to shift the weight off of the back of the truck and push it to the front wheels and the back of the trailer. Now we're going to go ahead and hook up our safety chains and our electrical brake and light cable. For all you smarties out there that believe in crossing your chains on your trailer, I believe in that practice too. Unfortunately, because our chains come from the same point, crossing them does no difference. It makes a V no matter what you do. It will not make an X. And so I just go ahead and hook them up that way. And we made a video on that as well if you want to see it in the description below. Also, don't forget to connect your emergency breakaway cable in case your trailer comes disconnected and your chains fail. If this cable right here gets pulled out, it will activate the brakes on the trailer to prevent it from going down the highway. So we're also going to connect that on our electrical cable. It basically plugs in right here. Make sure that it's plugged in all the way, and make sure that this part of the plug is behind this little notch right here to prevent it from coming back out. If it's not pushed in all the way, that will not work. Also, another thing I like to do to keep my cable from getting caught or dragging, I just go ahead and pull this pin out and put it right here just to keep it out of the way. Okay, now we're all hitched up. It's always a good idea to go back and double check all this. You also want to check all of your lights and your brakes on your trailer before you take off. We're also going to go ahead and turn our propane off while we're traveling on the road. Next, we're going to go ahead and take care of the water connection and the electrical connection. It's pretty much the same thing we did hooking it up, it's just backwards. We'll go ahead and shut this valve off. Right here, you can go ahead and open this valve up to bleed off the pressure that's in the hose. After you get that done, we'll go ahead and disconnect the hose. Disconnect your Y fitting. Disconnect your pressure regulator. We're going to go ahead and disconnect our hose from our water filter. Disconnect your water filter. And it's always a good idea on all of your water stuff to let any of the additional water drain out so that it doesn't stay inside of your hoses and inside of your filter, it can leak all over your floor while you're storing it, and it also can get nasty. So every once in a while I just like to give it an extra, just to get any of that additional water out of there for storage. On your hose, whenever I roll up my hoses, I like to make them as small as possible to take up less room in the storage. And that's another great thing about these 0G drinking water hoses. They're easy to roll up and store. We're also using these Velcro wraps. I think I got these at Home Depot or Lowe's, I can't remember, but it does help keep everything nice and tidy. And you can also hang it. It has a loop at the top to help with your storage. And now we're going to do our electrical.
You always want to make sure you turn your AC off before you turn off your electrical, because when you come back, you always want to make sure it's off so you don't hook it up under a load.
Now that Tanya turned the air conditioner off, we can go ahead and always turn your breaker off before you unplug anything. Then you can go ahead and unplug your 30 amp surge protector. Make sure you always close this lid. And we're going to go ahead and disconnect our twist lock. Remember, it's locked right now, so if you twist it, now it will be unplugged. Close that. And now we're going to also go ahead and roll up our electrical cord. And like I said, I like to try to make these as small as possible so they don't take up a lot of space, because our trailer doesn't have a whole lot of big outside storage. I'm just going to go ahead and leave my surge guard connected to my cord, because it's very difficult on this setup to unplug. And then we're going to go ahead and hang that in the storage. We'll go ahead and close our cap for our city water connection. So that wraps it up for all the disconnect on the utilities. Next, we're going to, after we leave, we're going to go ahead and go to the dump station, because our tanks are full, and we're going to dump our tanks over there.
So last but not least, you want to come inside and make sure that everything is put away. Just the little things could cause a major disaster. If you had something like this pour all over your camper, things breaking, so you want to make sure everything is secure. We put all of our things away, and then we also learned the hard way that if you have bins of any kind, which we do, so since we made our bunkhouse modification, you can see that video as well. We'll put the link in the description. We use bins now, and we want to make sure that all of our bins are secure before we leave. One time we forgot to do that, and all of our bins were on the floor, so we learned the hard way. You also want to make sure in the bathroom that everything is secure in here. So we like to take down our shower head, because that could fall and break something. So make sure that's down. Just make sure everything is nice and tight and secure before you leave. Also, you want to make sure, since you've disconnected, that your water heater is turned off. So we like to come in and double check that as well. The most important thing is make sure your awning is in before you take off, or you'll be hitting trees. It's also very important that you leave your campsite cleaner than when you got here. So always do a walk around, double check, make sure there's no trash, make sure you leave no trace, and make sure that your chocks are put in. Everything's put away before you leave.
What we wanted to talk to you guys about today is One of the things that's very important about a dump station is usually when on a Sunday afternoon when everybody's trying to get out of here, this place can be really busy. And so the first thing that's important is you need to make sure that you can move through here as fast as possible. So you need to make sure that you have all your fittings and all of your pieces required to do the dump in order so that you're not holding up the line behind you. Also, the next thing is you want to make sure that you're as clean as possible so you don't make a mess for the next person that's waiting in line that has to dump as well. You don't want them to have to be trampling through your spill while they're trying to dump their trailer. So keep in mind that we do not have a campsite with full hookups, so normally we'd be doing this, if you had full hookups, normally you'd be doing this in the campsite, but we're doing it on the way out at the dump station. Our trailer is not equipped with a black tank flush or a black tank rinse that you could hook the hose up to the side of the trailer and basically rinse or jet out the black tank after you dump. So this is a device that we're using. It's called the Rhino Blaster Pro. And basically what this is it enables you to hook up a water hose to your tank. It has a backflow preventer on here to prevent the water from going back up in the hose. It has a gate valve that you can open and close so that you can dump and then backfill your black tank several times until you get it rinsed out or clean, because we're going to go from here, we're going to go take it back to storage, and we don't have any leftovers in our black tank getting nasty until we get ready to use our trailer again. So basically, here's how this apparatus works. Also, very important, always make sure these things are shut before you take this off. If somebody has pulled this out just a little bit, this pipe will now be full of raw sewage, and as soon as you take that cap off, it's going to spill all over at the dump station. So we're going to go ahead and take this cap off, and we're going to go ahead and put our Rhino Blaster Pro on here. Also, another thing about this, they just make a Rhino Blaster. Make sure you get the one with the gate valve. If you don't get the one with the gate valve, this doesn't work near as well. So we've got that. As you can see, it swivels around. Now we're going to get the water hose. We're going to hook the water hose up to the spigot. Like most people, we store our sewer hoses inside of our bumper. This is the 4-inch bumper. We have this magnetic cap. Not only does it hold the hose to keep it from going back to where you can't reach it, but it also acts as a cap. So we're going to take our hose out. Here's the cap on the other end. And we're going to hook this to the end of the Rhino Blaster. Make sure that these connections are tight, because you do not want that to come off. Then we're going to get our elbow, hook that to the other end of our hose, and then you can see how these connections work. Basically, you want that little ball to snap. You want that ball to snap right inside there so that this will not come loose, so we don't make a mess. Then we're going to lift the hole and put that right there like that. And make sure that stays down in there. So we're going to go ahead and pull our black. Make sure that this gate valve is open. And here we go. So this is our first pull. You probably don't want to see this. It's kind of like a horror film. So you want to wait and the first dump goes through, and then we're going to start the flushing process. Another thing I wanted to say about this process is if you've got a line of cars behind you at a dump station, you're not going to be able to do this. The best thing you're going to be able to do is dump and leave. Fortunately, we can do this at our house in our driveway. We do have a sewer clean out right where we can back in the trailer, and we can also take care of that there. But this is very important because, like I said, you don't want to leave any of this stuff in your tank over time. It can become a biohazard experiment. Another tip, Tanya and I do not put toilet paper in our black tank. We just have a nice little trash can with a trash bag in it with a lid in our bathroom. And we keep everything in there because the toilet paper is actually what does gunk up your tank. It's your sensor, your little sensor that reads the level of the tank. Sometimes the toilet paper could get stuck on there and cause problems, so we just leave that out of the equation. So now we're empty. We're going to go ahead and shut this valve off and turn on the water. And so basically now we have this valve is shut off and we are backfilling the tank, and we're going to do this several times. One thing about this procedure, you do not want to leave this shut with this water on too long, because if you overfill your black tank, it can pop through the toilet and flood your bathroom. So that would be a huge problem. Basically what we're doing is we're just trying to just fill up the bottom of the tank just about halfway several times to get some of the remnants out. And so if you come over here and you watch, you can tell it's not full yet. But eventually this will fill up from this point all the way up this pipe into the tank. So as you can see down here right now, you can tell that there's no more air in the pipe, and it's probably getting to somewhere around a quarter to half full. So we're going to go ahead and shut this water off, and we're going to go ahead and pull our gate valve and let the next round through. I think we're going to call it. We're going to close off the black. We're going to swing this around to this side. Notice how you can manipulate this. And let's go ahead and pull our gray. You're going to see some coffee, some soap, some food. We're going to do one rinse on the gray after this empties out. You'll probably see some bubbles here in a minute. Another reason why you always want to pull your gray last is just to help. Getting a little soap and detergent in this hose is not a bad idea. We always like to do our gray after the black. Okay, I'm going to call it. We're going to go ahead and close that off. Turn on our, here you'll see some bubbles. Turn that off, pull this for one last time. We're going to go ahead and disconnect our hose here. Non-potable. Close off the gray valve. Disconnect our hose from the Rhino Blaster Pro. And then you want to do a lift to get anything left, any leftovers out of here. Get your 90 off of there. These hoses are great. Here we're going to remove our Rhino Blaster Pro and put the cap back on the pipe. Make sure that your valves are shut.
We're going to go ahead and use the Happy Camper. You put about 1 scoop per gallon of water. It's important that you don't store your black tank empty. You want to have at least a couple of gallons along with your Happy Camper. We have found that we really do like this best. Make sure you give it a couple of flushes to get the Happy Camper down into the black tank, and that's going to be it for the process.
We hope this video has helped you on your RV setup and breakdown when you go camping.
If you like videos like these, please subscribe to our channel, like our video, and share with anybody who loves camping as much as we do.
Thank you for watching. one last time. And did you see that? That was not me. It just rolled on by. Tanya, did you eat corn? It's called DIY Hitch Dock. What?
It's called DIY.
It's called DIY Hitch Docking Station for your travel trailer. We're going to be showing you how we're going to be hooking it up to this tank